half of the issues people have is because they're chasing something that doesn't exist. Don't chase the dream. You've got the dream. Just keep building on your own happiness.
Today's guest is the founder behind not one, not two, but three growing businesses. From a £1 million cleaning firm, SeeForth Services, to the UK's first solar advice company, meet Lawrence Seaforth.
You started SeeForth Services to create freedom. Take us back to the moment you knew you had to go solo.
I was for a number of years working in production, doing a lot of work in facilities and operations. So it kind of got me into the kind of processing mindset, processes, organization, operations. And that's when we decided, right, let's start working for ourselves and setting up some of our own businesses.
In this episode, we unpack building AI tools from scratch, learning to code to ship your first MVPs, and the true psychology of money.
Happiness will continue, but it doesn't come from followers, business size, and all of these things. Just keep building on your own happiness.
Hi, everyone. Today's guest, Lawrence Seaforth, is the founder behind not one, not two, but three growing businesses. From building a £1 million cleaning and facilities management firm, SeeForth Services, to launching the UK's first solar advice company, and now stepping into real estate with LEJN Enterprises. Lawrence embodies what it means to be a modern-day serial entrepreneur. But as expected, don't expect corporate jargon out here. He's all about real talk, from weathering last-minute cancellations to building AI tools himself, and even learning to code just enough to ship in his first MVPs. So whether you're building your first company or your fifth, this one's for you. And let's dive in with Lawrence. Lawrence, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Look forward to this.
Awesome. Listen, you started SeeForth Services to create freedom. Take us back to the moment you knew you had to go solo.
Well, I think for us, we had a bit of a change of life. Not to go on for too long about it, but I was for a number of years working in production, doing a lot of work in facilities and operations. And I did that for a long time. So it kind of got me into the kind of processing mindset, processes, organization, operations. And then during that period of time, I had a fortunate to travel around the world to set up different operation sites and new processes in Brazil, Canada, and different countries. But about 10 years ago, we had a massive change in our life, which was the birth of our first child. And that's when we thought, let's completely change things. So that's what was the big change. And that's when we decided, right, let's start working for ourselves and setting up some of our own businesses.
Okay, got it. And was that scary to suddenly leave the comfort of a secure job and then going to something in an unknown? Talk to me about that part, because this is the first step people take in. They start hustling or they do something like that. But so talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, now if I could go back and we keep this real talk, if I would speak to anyone about this, I would say, don't let go of your job instantly unless you're really, really sure about what you're setting up. Be careful, because depending on your risk appetite, you have to be somewhat cautious when it comes to this, because it was scary. And also when you're starting something and you can see all your bills coming your way, it affects your brain, it affects your thought process, it affects how you work. So if you can structure your exit, I would always recommend that. So if you've got a job and you're getting a good pay from that job, or even if you want to have a change, think about how you can build something and then slowly exit as that grows. So that would be a recommendation. But if you want to go for it, then really, really you're going to have to put a lot of miles in at the beginning.
Understood. And guess what? Right, you don't have one, you have a few businesses. And you said you think of a new company almost daily. So what do you do when that kind of itch strikes you?
Well, I have to be careful now. What I tend to do now, so if I have an idea for a company, and when these ideas come up, what I'll do is I'll either vibe code and make something that's the start of it, and it means it's parked. And then at some future point, if I can come to it, I will. But I mean, there's a business itself, a business to help people to start businesses. So there's one for anyone listening. But I mean, there's a lot of people that haven't got the time to think of a business idea, but maybe you could think, well, who could help me with that first point? But there are so many things that can be done. I mean, you know, even if you're thinking of starting up something, from literally just getting a van, putting something on a basic Facebook or something like that, you can get work instantaneously just from basic stuff. And then that can set up into an AI-based business. So there's any type of work. There's working.
Got it. And that's interesting. So kind of what's your kind of internal signal thing that comes from within you that tells you it's time to switch lanes versus keep pushing?
Well, there lies most probably a brilliant question when it comes to any type of strategy in a framework. And I've tried to build this framework because this is a crucial part of when you read and see what other entrepreneurs have gone through. Some stories you hear are entrepreneurs who've killed themselves for 7, 8, 9 years on one thing, and then eventually it worked out. And then you'll hear the exact opposite end of the spectrum, where there's another entrepreneur who, after working on something for one month, 2 months, 3 months, decided it's not working. They changed and they changed and they changed and they changed, and then they met the right thing. So both approaches can have success. But the thing is, you must be very cautious about, if you're going to go down the road of sticking to something hard, it has to be something that you will work eventually. So what we try to do to be cautious of this is to try to test the market, to test if it's going to work out. So with the Solar Advice company, currently within the testing phase of that, and we're just putting tests out. Our marketer is doing work on that, testing the market to see what works. And then we give that certain period of time. And then after that period of time ends, if it hasn't reached its milestone, then you think, well, how can we pivot here? Or do we have to stop?
Yeah, a couple of interesting points questions I wanted to ask. But what is that time period that the entrepreneur knows, right? On one side, you said they switch after every 1 month, and others stay for 7-8 years on it, and then it becomes big. Or sometimes it doesn't work out. How does an entrepreneur with bills to pay coming in left, right, and center make that decision?
So it's a tricky one, but it's quite important, firstly, to have a network around you of people who are honest, and they can be very helpful, even family and friends. Now, if someone wants you to be successful, they will tend to want to support what you're doing. And if you throw things at them, then they will be able to tell you that is fantastic, or don't even think about doing it. So using good people around you, if it's family or friends, or if you decide to go down the road of mentors, business coaching, those are the networks that will help you sense test things to make sure that you're not going completely off. I think without that being the case, you do have also other tools that are useful, but you must train, say, AI tools to not just be your best friend. Because currently you write something into AI and it will just write back to you, that's amazing. You've got the best idea in the world, and it will just tell you everything's wonderful. Whereas you must train any models you deal with to be hypercritical. And if you're really good with AI and you want your bit better, you can actually upload all of the people who you feel have excellent visions in business and use them as your kind of board of directors. And then they can feed back to you if your idea is sense checked. So you can use these tools as well, and that's useful, and that can speed up the process.
Got it. And let's kind of move to the other side, right? What's the mindset shift you think most people never make when they try to start their first business?
Well, I think the mind shift that people never make, I think what tends to be a problem when people start business is thinking about the kind of amazing green pastures prior to thinking about the kind of the hard mud that goes. And what tends to happen, and a lot of people get stuck on just worrying about the mud and the thick mud push through until you make it past the mud and to get to the green grass. And that's the part that most people get stuck on. The problem is that if you're stuck in a job that you don't like, that you don't enjoy, then you're going to be in a rut for all of your entire working life. So it's far better to not be stuck in the mindset of, oh, it's hard, it's never going to work out, to kind of think, well, what it could be and how can I make it, those steps to make it to the green grass.
Interesting. So let's say if you'll never had that first child at that time, would you continue in your corporate job?
Well, I think most probably things could have taken a very different turn. But the thing is, that's the nature of life. I mean, you have these sliding door moments in life where there's some people you could put it down to skill, but sometimes you have to put some things down to coincidence and chance. And there are these situations that may come along that, in some cases, if you didn't have those scenarios, massive corporations wouldn't exist. There's stories of massive founders of massive corporations who are just fortunate enough to have a computer. And because they had a computer in the school that they went to, now we have a massive company that produces half the software for the world. So I think in my case, things could have been completely different if that sliding doors moment didn't happen.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, makes sense. Let's get down to SeeForth Services, right? What's the business model? What's the prop? Who do you serve? Talk to me about that.
So for SeeForth Services, it's mainly a facilities management, cleaning and maintenance company. So the goal of it is to be the kind of first port of call for any building, mainly in the UK, London area, but also nationwide if it's bigger. Anything they need to be done, they can contact us and we'll get it organized for them. We kind of mainly were around the kind of abseiling, working at heights, doing cleaning at heights and repairs at heights. But we've now morphed into all sorts of building repairs. So literally I get phone calls, Lawrence, can you organize for someone to come and take a look at the electrical works? Lawrence, can you organize someone to look at the drainage? So we basically, as we've been there to support our clients, we've grown in the different work we do. And what we've found with the industry from the facility side is that it's very stressful for some of our clients. They're under pressure from who they're working for. And so our goal as a company is to kind of be there as a voice of calmness and reason to help with these stressful jobs that they face.
Amazing. Yes. And talk to me about So you've actually become a one-stop shop for when it comes to facilities management, no matter what the job is within that building maintenance, site maintenance, right? From what I'm hearing.
Mainly, yeah, we try our best.
We try. And how did you acquire your first client? I always like to go to the beginning. What was the first client, the first pound, or 1,000 pounds, or whatever pounds is?
Right. Well, the path into this was not instantaneous. The path started when I first literally started this business. It was just me by myself working in the freezing cold on some residential work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, my life has completely changed here. It was very different from my office, which was lovely and warm and beautiful. And all of a sudden I'm freezing cleaning a person's building. But fortunately, what we had a very nice break is that there was a group that was a housing association for the massive area of the UK called Hertfordshire, and they needed a commercial job done on all of their residential nursing blocks. So they contacted us, and that was kind of the first main commercial work that we got. That was really, really useful. Now, I was thinking of doing it myself, but something happened to me, which was completely another sliding doors moment, was that I was carrying the young child I had at the time, and I slipped on the stairs, which was not enjoyable, and landed on my spine. And I was basically, because I was holding my child, I really, really hurt myself. So I was laid up for 3 months. And then that's when I realized, wow, like I need to get support quickly in this business, because if it's dependent on me and something happens to me, then the business stops. So that's when we started to get support and help on the contracts. And that was the first, most probably big commercial job we started on. Then from then it went into other places like Battersea Power Station and other bigger buildings.
Nice. And in terms of actually scaling the business, right? What's your kind of biggest challenge scaling SeeForth? So, I mean, you said the clients change their minds a lot also, right?
So I think along the way, the challenges we had was that we would usually end up having situations where we'd have oscillations of work. And that most probably is the biggest challenge in facilities. You get a job that we need a lot of support and help. And we have had situations, sadly, and this is most probably something we've learned from now, where we'd organize one job. Someone called me up really late. It was on, I think, a Wednesday. And they said, hey, Lawrence, we really need a company to come in the next morning because we've got a massive job at the end of a construction. We need the guys to come in. So we organized for about 11 to come in to help out on this job. But then 2 hours later, that same client rang back and said, oh, we don't need it anymore. And that was quite a lesson for me in structure and organization. And even if someone is under pressure, trying to help them so that their stress and pressure doesn't become part of our company's stress and pressure. Now, basic things and the things I'd always recommend if you're starting a business is make sure you cover yourself financially. If someone is urgently needs to do something, well, that's fine. But that means they should pay. And don't be, I know when you start a business, I never did at the beginning, you're a bit nervous. Oh no, should I ask? No. Okay, we're happy to do it tomorrow. Ken, here's the price. You need to pay this upfront and then we'll come. Because then the client is now going to stick to the word. Once we instituted that, that ended the problems we had.
And let's look at next year, right? New year. I mean, if you can share some kind of targets, clients, anything on that. So what's keeping you excited on SeeForth Services next year?
So from SeeForth Services direction, I think our goal currently is to try to gain a client a week.
Wow.
So that's over the course of next year. If we can get between 50 to 55 new clients, that's good. And our outreach program now is really gaining quite good momentum. So I would say from helping other entrepreneurs, your goal really is to think of a sales funnel that you can set up, that you can measure the metrics and say, well, look, this is what we've set up. Is it possible for us to reach that? And that's one of our goals for next year. And if that goal is reached, then we'll be able to reach hopefully our other financial goals within the company.
Interesting one, your outreach process, right? What does that involve? Because I think this is the biggest and major stumbling block for any business one, whether it's in the facilities and the trades or any other space, right? What's kind of working right now and how did you get there?
So from our perspective, it worked out quite well because one of the things we wanted to do from an outreach is actually call different buildings around London, Cambridge, the areas we work, that are surrounding part. If they don't know you exist, then you'll never get work. So that's the outreach program that we set up. And we set up a calling, kind of in effect, calling program, assistant program for ourselves. And how that worked out was I was busy working and I got a phone call from someone and they sounded amazing. Like they spoke to me in such like one of the best calls I've had. And I just said to them, well, you're good at this. Would you work for me? And they're like, well, we can't talk about it now. I said, please look me up in LinkedIn and send me your details. So that's what we did. And she's absolutely fantastic and really has been a blessing to us, a bonus. So what I would say if anyone's looking for outreach is if you find good people, I'll just ask them.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
Mm-hmm.
if you see someone that's good at what they do, even if you're
Yeah.
out and about, even for some jobs that we've received, I've been out and I've seen a cleaner who's cleaning amazingly. And I'm like, you do this great. Would you like to do
Mm-hmm.
some for us?
Yeah.
So you can outreach just by the people you see.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah. What's the name of the lady who you approached, and what's her number?
Okay, we'll sort you out later.
Yes. All right. Listen, Solar Advice Bureau, right, is a
Yes.
unique player. There's no sales, just pure advice, right? And in this age of AI, why this model? Because everyone can get onto ChatGPT anywhere and get that. So talk to me more about this. I'm
Well,
curious.
with Solar Advice Bureau, the period of I went through a period of time after the pandemic where work was quiet. So I was like, right, what else can I do? So I spent a little bit of time in the solar world, and I
Right.
was going around doing consultations, and I saw, and then you get kind of commission as you go around doing this. And I realized this is like worse than what used to be in the UK. Used to called double glazing window salesman. I
Yeah.
mean, there was a lady, she was nearly 80. She must have filled a form or something. I was there. And she, like, in the morning, she wakes up, fills her kettle with the flask with hot water. She uses no electricity, and she's asking about solar panels. And I'm like, it will take you 40 years. You don't use any electricity. You're by yourself. But the gentleman who was organizing the team was like, no, we should still sell it to her. I'm like, so I realized the big issue with the industry right now is just confusion, panic, and sales, and also scams as well. I mean, we're getting ones when we set up the company who are contacting us because they got a phone call from someone to say, you've had solar fitted in your house, but it's not the right voltage, and you need to pay us £1,500 for us to come quickly to fix this. And the person's like, oh, and what you need to do is pay £500 up front so that we can fix this thing. So then they're contacting us and asking us. We're saying, well, if it was so desperate, I'm sure they would give you more information. So there's a lot of confusion in the market, and that's what really Solar Advice Bureau does.
Okay.
And if you're going to spend £15,000,
Yes.
£10,000, or £8,000 on something, and you have no idea how to do it, why not get somebody who can help you for £90 to actually specify the whole thing and make sure your installation works well?
Yeah. No, very true. How do you go on, establishing trust, given what you said with your clients or your prospects, actually?
So really right now, that is the marketing feature that we're working on the most. So the ones we've already worked with have fallen in love with us. So they loved what we did to help them. So there's a
Right.
couple of features that we've done. First of all, the first trust point is the consultation is free. So when you contact us initially, there is no charge. And then
Right.
we will then determine if you need any service from us. So that's the first trust point, is no charge at all. And then the next trust point will be content. So that's what I'll be working on over the course of the winter. Is there's a number of people that we've dealt with, but also people that have had solar installed, that I'm going to just interview and provide all of that information on the site, so that people can just see real life experiences of once who've had it and the benefits it has to them, and also how it will save them or not save them if they need to do it.
Yeah, good. Makes sense. And was it on this one that you did your own coding and you created your MVP, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. What did that teach you?
So, I mean, that taught me, first of all, that it takes a lot of testing work after you build something. So you have the building phase, which is great. But then I think if you're going to build anything, you must bear in mind that just say it's going to take the same amount of time to build to test afterwards. But what it does teach me is that now for entrepreneurs, it's a golden time. Like anybody that needs any support with anything with their business, you can build it. I wouldn't say you may have the technical ability to build it, but you can help or get somebody to help you to get something built quickly. And a lot of these big software companies are realizing that their time is up, because for most businesses, if I went into any business now, say a plumber or anyone, and I spent a week with them, within a week, you can build their own bespoke software now. You don't need to rely upon and spend lots of money on other things, because you can literally build web applications for yourself for what your company exactly needs. And it's not something out of the, of a general bag for lots of people that have to fit into it. You can build something for yourself. So that's, I think, the direction software will go with the help of AI.
And you're building a lot of AI tools across all your businesses, right? Give us a quick tour. I'm kind of curious about that one.
So I think, AI is such a generic term for so many features. And I always say to people, it's been going, AI tools. I think the thing that really picked it up was large language models. So
Yeah.
once that took off, then the kind of every single business has just added AI to everything they do. But from our perspective, the things that we've used and really good tools that we've found is, if we're going to use large language model tools, that will train them specifically for business. and for our businesses. And that's a really good tool of a large language model that you can upload. And instead of it being hallucinated by the entire internet of information, you can tell it exactly what you want it to focus on, give it the files, give it the information, give it the background. And that's how you can get the best use out of large language models. So we've used the tools like that to help us to do things at speed that most probably would have taken a lot longer to do beforehand. And then the other tools we've used is building tools. So vibe coding tools, famous ones like Lovable, Replit, these type of building tools. And those tools are very, very useful for building MVPs. We cannot make out that they can, if it grows to massive scale, then that's when you need developers to come in. You can't. But at the beginning, you can test the market really quickly now.
And that's amazing, isn't it? And anyone now who doesn't know coding also can get onto that journey out there. And you mentioned an interesting point about, large language model. I mean, for a layman sitting in and listening onto this show, how do they go about, give us a kind of overview of that, right? How do they train them for your project or company or business or brand?
Okay, well, let's now go for this. This is now some kind of pro tips. If you're sitting down by a computer, I'll give you an example of one large language model, and you can do it there's multiple ones. There's like Magnus, ChatGPT, there's Claude, Perplexity. There's so many different ones. Let's just say what you can do with, say, the one called Claude. So you have a business. What you can do is you can go into a section called Profile, and in the section called Profile, you can set up something called a master prompt. Now, what this does is you can tell the model everything that you want it to do for your business. Every time you ask a question, the framework of decisions that you want the model to make, and then you can give it a breakdown exactly of what your business does, your business goals and everything. And that's now built into the core of the large language model. Then after you put that inside of the profile, then you go and click on a button that says create a project. And now you can create a project inside the large language model. And that then gives you the ability to upload files and other things linked to projects within the companies. So instantaneously, whatever you're trying to accomplish can be done at faster speed now, just with the support of AI. So if you want to do an outreach for, say, recruitment, you can do all of the recruitment documents from the large language model. If you want to do outreach for sales, you can set up a sales campaign within the model based on your business. So all of the things that most probably would take, say, weeks of work to order to generate documentation, you can save all of that time. And that is a very, very useful tool. It doesn't do the thinking for you. You do the thinking, but it does the donkey work.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And let me ask you this. What part of your current workflow is now 10 times faster thanks to the tech that you've been using, the one that you want to highlight?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I would say most office work has been sped up. So it's very hard to put it down to one workflow.
Okay, give us top 3 then.
Okay, so I would say generic email responding has been sped up massively because instead of having to write out standard emails about standard things, you can use a language model and train it so that it can do most of the work on those emails for you. This is something Perplexity is getting much better at. Obviously, you have to be a little bit cautious of privacy on these type of things because you can now link your email directly to these models, and then it can interact with them. So that is a top one.
Yeah, I think Perplexity uses GPT and Claude in the background, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think it uses most of them. Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
I think it uses at least 4 models that I know. But you can even select them if you want to. So that's been sped up. The ability to write and develop was not even a possibility. So that's not even been sped up. I mean, that when I needed to develop something before, I would need to contact a development team abroad. We'd need to have kickoff meetings. We'd need to have, after the kickoff meetings, we'd need to do sample boards. I mean, so that is not even 10 times. That's mostly 1,000 times better now that you can do all of that work mainly yourself. And then when you're ready to really grow, then you pull in that development team. So that's helped. And I'll say for number 3, no, I think 2 is all I can think of now.
Okay, that's fine. Let me just ask you a question. If you could plug AI into one system today, what would that be? If you had only one option?
I would say most probably email communication would be a key one. I don't think it's fully there yet, but the reason why AI is useful for communication is because I find with secular work, even before my own businesses, that you must really be careful that your time is only spent on things that are valuable. The issue with communication, and it sounds a little bit cold to say this, but is if you're trying to set something up, your best thing to do is to turn off all notifications, all emails, and just have focused work time. And what tends to happen when you're setting things up is there's too many distractions. And so that's why these tools are useful, because you need to be able to really focus. Even if you decide, okay, my focus time is the first 4 hours of the day. But that if you're going to get anything done and you're going to get multiple things done, you have to be able to do that without emails, WhatsApps,
Yes.
LinkedIn. There's just so much noise, and you'll never get anything done if you can't just knuckle down. So that's AI communicate. Not reducing that would be excellent.
When it comes to you personally, I mean, you have, so many things going on. Who do you turn to when maybe the shit hits the fan or when things get tough?
So, I mean, I guess I am very cautious.
Don't say ChatGPT or Claude, though.
No, they're good. They're not that good. Real people are better. No, I think there's a couple of things. So having a good network around you is really important. I mean, there's some really, really, really good advice, I think, when it comes from people, when it comes to positive thinking, because firstly, try to have positive thinkers around you. That is, so when you say turn to, if you're kind of around ones and you go to them and say, oh, I want to start a business. And oh no, you're never going to make, no, it's done. Well, you've got to work out these are people that will help you succeed or not. And also, if you've got good things going and you're trying, you need people around you who you can talk to. So be it family members or good friends who can actually bounce ideas off each other. And that really, for me, is a crucial thing. And that's what I fortunately have. But I would really say that to anyone listening is that you really need to think who's kind of in my life, or who can I get in my life that can provide a level of support for what I'm trying to do and accomplish.
Okay. And let's just make it a little fun now. You got 1 minute to answer the next question, right? You said people sense desperation. What have you learned about energy and attraction in business?
Well, a major thing I've learned is be relaxed and just enjoy yourself. What I found at the beginning, when you come in, especially say if you're networking, I hate that term, to be honest, networking, and you walk in, a person comes to you, okay, I'm trying to sell it. You're like, whoa. So just enjoying it, enjoying the journey and being positive. That is attraction to people, the energy, because then people want to work with you. And people work with people. They don't work with businesses.
You're writing a book. What problem does it solve? 1 minute.
Oh boy. Okay. So the goal with the book is just to help people with that framework when it comes to decision making and time. Mm-hmm. So how long to stick to something and when to change paths. That is really the goal of the book. And also just time is the most important commodity. So that's really the main driver of the book as well. You can always make money, but you can never get time back. So try to make decisions, try to do things quickly while you have the time.
Yeah, thanks for that. You said let me ask you this. What's one thing you believe about businesses that's unpopular but true?
One thing that most probably I detest the most about businesses, especially as they grow, is their lack of human connection. So what you'll notice as companies grow is, like, the smaller they are, you pick them, you call them, you'll get to talk to someone. Yes. And as they grow and grow, they literally start to hide their phone number. So you go to some of the bigger companies, you have to go through about 25 pages in order to find the smallest contact us phone number. And you call it up and it's most probably a phone in the middle of an empty room, because nobody contacts you. Nobody picks it up, especially if you call an insurance company, goodness me. So for me, the biggest thing I really don't like about business is the disconnect it gets from its clients when it grows. And that's something I would say for any entrepreneur is you really think of your clients and keep that contact, because that's what makes a business good. I mean, even here in the UK, I think the US is better. You try and get a plumber, you try and call a company, nobody even answers the phone. It is literally nearly impossible. Half the time we're just ringing around.
Yeah.
That is not good business.
Yeah. And it's a good problem to solve, actually, in a way.
Yes.
How to solve that. Yes.
That's a business idea. Okay.
That's a business idea. Yeah. We should talk about it. And lastly, what's the book that actually changed you?
Well, secularly, I would say the main book that was of use is always Genesis Revelation. Secularly, I think a really good book is one I've mentioned to you in the past before, Psychology of Money. That's really, 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 really good. Yeah. I don't know if that's one you've read.
Yeah, it's here. Let me grab it. It's Morgan Housel, right? Yeah, there you go.
That's the one. So one, I would say, is the one to quickly get off the shelf, read it through. It's the mindset that it helps you to have. And it's brilliant. It talks about some of the things maybe we've even highlighted, even today, about skill versus just good luck or fortune. Some people might think, oh, well, they're very fortunate to very skillful, but sometimes it's just they're very fortunate. But sometimes those two things can be mixed together. It's really, really well thought throughout book. So yeah, that would be one I'd recommend. Yeah,
it's one of the best sellers. And wasn't in that book he said, how much is enough or what is enough for you? And I think that's where you get down to that level of thought process in the psychology of money. So very powerful question.
Because most people, and you must think about this at the beginning, is half of the issues people have is because they're chasing something that doesn't exist.
Yep.
Be happy now, enjoy what you've got, and then just your happiness will continue. But it doesn't come from followers, business size, and all of these things. And that's something to be careful of. You know, don't chase the dream. You've got the dream. Just keep building on your own happiness, because it makes a big difference to how you work.
Yes, absolutely. Lawrence, that's a wrap. That's a pod. Thank you very much. Great having you here today.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
Thank